The conference room felt too cold, or maybe that was just Tasha's nerves making her body tremble. She sat in the leather chair, 6 months pregnant, wearing a royal blue maternity dress that she'd bought specifically for this moment. Her hands rested on the swell of her belly as she stared at the stack of papers in front of her. Divorce papers. The words seemed too final, too permanent, too devastating. Her lawyer, Mrs. Patterson, a kind woman in her 50s, sat beside her, occasionally glancing at Tasha with concern. "Are you all right, dear? We can take a break if you need." Tasha shook her head. "No. Let's just get this over with." But she couldn't pick up the pen. Her fingers hovered over it, frozen, as memories flooded her mind. 3 months ago, Julian had come home from work later than usual. She'd made dinner, hoping they could finally talk about the distance growing between them. Instead, he'd stood in their kitchen and said the words that shattered her world. "I want a divorce, Tasha. This isn't working anymore." She'd been too shocked to cry at first. "What do you mean? We can work on this. We can try counseling." But Julian had already made up his mind. "I've already filed the papers. You'll receive them next week. I'll make sure you're taken care of financially." 2 weeks after that conversation, Tasha had felt unusually tired and nauseous. A pregnancy test confirmed what she hadn't dared to hope for. They'd been trying for a baby for the past year, but the timing couldn't have been worse. Julian had already moved out. The divorce was already in motion. She'd decided not to tell him. What was the point? He'd made it clear he didn't want to be married to her anymore. Now, sitting in this cold conference room, she wondered if she'd made the right choice. The baby moved inside her, a gentle kick against her ribs, as if reminding her that this child was real and deserved to know their father. The door opened and Tasha's heart stopped. Julian walked in and she watched as his eyes immediately went to her face, then traveled down to her very obvious pregnant belly. His expression froze. His briefcase slipped from his hand and hit the floor with a heavy thud. His lawyer, Mr. Chambers, walked in behind him, talking about some clause in the agreement, but Julian wasn't listening. He was staring at Tasha, his face pale. "Tasha." His voice cracked on her name. She lifted her chin, trying to maintain her composure even though her heart was racing. This wasn't how she'd imagined telling him. She'd planned to wait until after the divorce was final, then maybe send him a message. Now, seeing the shock and confusion on his face, she realized how wrong she'd been to keep this from him. Julian's lawyer, Mr. Chambers, cleared his throat. "Shall we begin? Mr. Bennett, please take a seat so we can proceed with the signing." But Julian didn't move. He kept staring at Tasha, at her belly, at the physical proof of the life they'd created together. "Are you?" "When?" "6 months, Tasha said quietly. "I'm 6 months pregnant." The room fell silent except for the ticking of the clock on the wall. Mrs. Patterson shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Mr. Chambers looked between Julian and Tasha, clearly not knowing how to proceed. Julian finally moved, but instead of sitting at the table he walked toward Tasha. His legs seemed unsteady and he gripped the back of a chair for support. "Is it mine?" The question hung in the air. Tasha felt a flash of anger but she pushed it down. She understood why he had to ask even if it hurt. "Yes, the baby is yours. Why didn't you tell me?" His voice was barely above a whisper. "You left," Tasha said simply. "You filed for divorce. You made it very clear you didn't want to be married to me anymore. I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks after you moved out. What was I supposed to do? Come running to you with the news when you just told me our marriage was over?" Julian ran his hand through his dark hair, a gesture she recognized from their years together. He did that when he was stressed or overwhelmed. I should have known. You should have told me." "Maybe," Tasha admitted. "But I was hurt and scared and trying to figure out how to do this alone. I have a job lined up at a new school for next year. I found a small apartment I can afford. I have a plan." "A plan?" Julian's voice rose slightly. "Tasha, you're having my child. Our child. You shouldn't have to do this alone." Mr. Chambers interrupted, trying to bring order back to the meeting. "Mr. Bennett, perhaps we should take a recess. This is obviously unexpected news, and we can reconvene when everyone has had time to process." "No," Julian said firmly. "I need to talk to Tasha. Alone. Right now." Mrs. Patterson looked at Tasha. "Is that all right with you?" Tasha nodded slowly. What choice did she have? They needed to talk about this eventually. "Yes, it's fine." The lawyers gathered their papers and left the room, closing the door behind them. The silence that followed was heavy and awkward. Julian pulled out the chair across from Tasha and sat down. He looked different than he had 3 months ago. Thinner maybe. Tired. There were dark circles under his eyes. I can't believe this, he said, shaking his head. All this time, you've been pregnant with our baby and I didn't know. You've been busy, Tasha said, not unkindly. Building your company, closing deals. That's what you wanted. To focus on work without the distraction of a marriage. Julian flinched at her words. I never said you were a distraction. You didn't have to. I felt it every day. Coming home to an empty house. Eating dinner alone. Going to bed alone even when you were there because you were on your laptop working. I became invisible to you, Julian. That's not fair. Isn't it? Tasha placed her hands on her belly, feeling the baby move again. I tried so hard to be understanding. I knew building your company was important. But I needed you too. I needed my husband. And when I finally worked up the courage to ask for more, you left. Julian was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. I messed up. I know that now. These past 3 months have been terrible. I threw myself into work even harder, trying not to think about you, about us. But it didn't work. Nothing worked. Tasha looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the truth in his eyes. He did look miserable. But was that enough? Why did you want the divorce if you missed me? Because I'm an idiot, Julian said bluntly. Because I thought I was doing the right thing. You deserved better than what I was giving you and I didn't know how to fix it. I thought maybe if I let you go, you could find someone who would actually be there for you. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, Tasha said, and despite everything, she almost smiled. You don't end a marriage because you think the other person deserves better. You fight for it. You try harder. I know that now. Julian leaned forward, his eyes intense. Tasha, we can't sign those papers. Not now. Not when you're carrying our child. The baby doesn't change anything, Tasha said, even though she knew it changed everything. It changes everything, Julian countered. Please just, let me help you. Let me be part of this. I'll do whatever you need. Better apartment, medical care, anything. Just don't shut me out. Tasha wanted to say no. Part of her wanted to make him hurt the way she'd hurt. But when she looked at his face, she saw genuine fear and hope mixed together. And she remembered what her mother had always told her. Kindness and love should lead even when you're hurting. Okay, she said quietly. You can help. You can be part of this. Julian's shoulders sagged with relief. Thank you. Thank you, Tasha. But we need ground rules, she continued. This doesn't mean we're getting back together. This is about the baby. I understand, Julian said quickly. Whatever you need. Whatever makes you comfortable. Tasha nodded. Then we should probably let the lawyers back in and figure out what to do next. Before she could stand, Julian reached across the table and gently placed his hand over hers. I'm sorry. For everything. For not being the husband you deserved. For missing the first 6 months of this pregnancy. I want to do better. I will do better. Looking into his eyes, Tasha saw sincerity there. Whether it would last, she didn't know. But for now, for the sake of their child, she would give him a chance to prove himself. We'll see, she said softly. Julian squeezed her hand gently before pulling back. They called the lawyers back into the room, and everyone sat down with very different expressions than before. Mr. Chambers looked confused. Mrs. Patterson looked cautiously optimistic. We're putting the divorce on hold, Julian announced. Indefinitely. Mr. Chambers blinked. I see. Well, that's certainly you're right. We'll need to file the appropriate paperwork to pause the proceedings. Do whatever needs to be done, Julian said. He turned to Tasha. When is your next doctor's appointment? Next Tuesday at 2 in the afternoon. I want to be there. If that's okay with you. Tasha hesitated only for a moment. Okay. You can come. As they left the conference room that day, Tasha felt a mix of emotions. Fear, hope, uncertainty, and something else she didn't want to name yet. Maybe Julian really had changed. Maybe he would step up and be the father their baby deserved. Only time would tell. But for now, she'd taken the first step by accepting his help. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to start healing what had been broken between them. Have you ever had to make a choice that terrified you but felt right in your heart? Tasha just made one of the hardest decisions of her life. If this story is touching your heart, please subscribe to see how their journey continues. What do you think Julian should do next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The drive home from the lawyer's office felt surreal. Tasha sat in her modest sedan, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to process everything that had just happened. Julian had looked genuinely shocked when he saw her pregnant belly. The divorce was on hold. He wanted to be involved. She parked in front of her small apartment building and sat for a moment, watching rain begin to fall on the windshield. Her phone buzzed with a text message. Julian, please text me when you get home so I know you're safe. Tasha stared at the message. This was new. During the last months of their marriage, Julian had rarely checked on her. She'd leave for work in the morning and not hear from him until late at night, if at all. She typed back, just got home. Within seconds he replied, good. Get some rest. I'll see you Tuesday. Tuesday seemed both too far away and too soon. Tasha trudged up the stairs to her second-floor apartment, feeling the weight of the day settling on her shoulders. Inside, she kicked off her shoes and sank onto the worn couch that had come with the furnished rental. Her phone rang and she groaned when she saw it was her best friend, Nicole Parker. She'd been avoiding Nicole's calls all week, knowing she'd have to explain the whole situation. Hello? Girl, where have you been? I've been calling you for days. Nicole's voice was warm but concerned. How did it go today? Did you sign the papers? No, Tasha said quietly. I didn't sign them. There was a pause. What happened? Julian saw that I'm pregnant. He didn't know until today. Nicole gasped. Oh my goodness, Tasha. What did he say? He wants to be involved. He asked to come to my next doctor's appointment. And you said yes? Nicole's tone was cautious. I did. Tasha. Nicole sighed. I just don't want you to get hurt again. You were so devastated when he left. I know, Tasha admitted. But he's the father of my baby. I can't keep him away just because I'm scared. You're a better person than me, Nicole said. I would have made him suffer a little longer. Despite everything, Tasha smiled. Maybe I should have. They talked for a while longer before Tasha finally begged off, exhausted. She took a warm shower and changed into comfortable pajamas. Her reflection in the bathroom mirror showed the changes pregnancy had brought. Her face was rounder, glowing. Her belly was unmistakably pregnant now, no longer something she could hide under loose clothing. She touched her belly gently. Your daddy knows about you now, little one. I hope I made the right choice. The weekend passed slowly. Tasha spent Saturday cleaning her apartment and Sunday at her mother's house for dinner. Gloria Washington was a strong, graceful woman in her early 50s who had raised Tasha alone after her father died when Tasha was 10. You're glowing, Gloria said as she served homemade stew. How are you feeling? Good. Tired but good. Tasha hesitated. Mama, I need to tell you something. Julian knows about the baby now. Gloria set down her spoon. How did that happen? We had the final meeting to sign the divorce papers. He saw me. And what did he say? He wants to be involved. He's coming to my next appointment. Gloria was quiet for a moment, studying her daughter's face. How do you feel about that? Scared. Hopeful. Confused. All of it. That's normal, Gloria said gently. Just be careful, baby. I don't want to see you hurt again. Everyone keeps saying that, Tasha said with a small smile. I promise I'll be careful. Tuesday arrived faster than Tasha expected. She'd chosen to wear a comfortable green dress that flowed nicely over her belly. When she arrived at the medical building, Julian was already waiting outside. He wore dark slacks and a crisp white shirt, looking every bit the successful businessman he was, except his expression was nervous. Hi, he said as she approached. Hi. Thank you for letting me come. They walked inside together and Tasha checked in at the reception desk. The waiting room was full of other pregnant women at various stages, some with partners, some alone. Julian sat close to her, his knee bouncing anxiously. Are you nervous? Tasha asked. Terrified, he admitted. I don't know what to expect. They'll probably do an ultrasound. You'll get to see the baby. Julian's eyes widened. Really? Before Tasha could respond, a nurse called her name. They followed her back to an exam room where Dr. Kim, Tasha's OB-GYN, was waiting. Dr. Kim was a pleasant Korean-American woman in her 40s with a warm smile. Tasha, good to see you. Dr. Kim's eyes went to Julian. And you've brought someone today. This is Julian, the baby's father, Tasha said. Nice to meet you. Dr. Kim shook Julian's hand. First appointment for you? Yes, ma'am. Well, you're in for a treat. Let's get started. Dr. Kim checked Tasha's blood pressure, measured her belly and listened to the baby's heartbeat. Julian watched everything with wide eyes, particularly when the strong, steady thump of their baby's heartbeat filled the room. That's our baby, he whispered. That's your baby, Dr. Kim confirmed with a smile. Nice and strong. Now, let's do the ultrasound so you can actually see this little one. Tasha lay back on the exam table and lifted her dress to expose her belly. Julian stood beside her, his eyes fixed on the ultrasound screen as Dr. Kim applied gel and began moving the wand. At first, the screen showed grainy black and white shapes that didn't make sense. Then suddenly there he was. Their baby. Fully formed, moving, sucking his thumb. "There's your son," Dr. Kim said. "See his little feet? And there's his hand by his face." Julian made a strangled sound. Tasha turned to look at him and saw tears streaming down his face. He wasn't trying to hide them or wipe them away. He just stood there, crying as he stared at the screen. "That's my son," he said, his voice breaking. "That's really my son. Would you like some pictures?" Dr. Kim asked gently. "Yes, please. As many as possible." After the appointment ended and they walked back to their cars, Julian was still holding the ultrasound photos like they were the most precious things in the world. He looked at Tasha with an expression she hadn't seen in years. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for letting me be here for this." "You're his father," Tasha said. "You should be here." Julian took a deep breath. "I want to talk about your living situation. That apartment you're in, it's not big enough. The neighborhood isn't safe. Let me find you something better." Tasha's first instinct was to refuse, to insist she could handle it herself. But she thought about her cramped one-bedroom apartment with the leaky faucet and the noisy neighbors. She thought about climbing 2 flights of stairs while pregnant. She thought about bringing a baby home to that small space. "Okay," she said. "That would be helpful." Julian looked surprised that she'd agreed so easily. "Really? You'll let me help?" "Yes. But I want to see the place first before I agree to anything." "Of course. Absolutely." Julian pulled out his phone. "I'll start looking today. Something safe, quiet, with a good nursery room. Nothing too fancy," Tasha warned. "I still want to feel like myself." "I understand. Trust me, Tasha. I'm going to do this right." As Tasha drove away, she glanced in her rearview mirror and saw Julian still standing in the parking lot, looking at the ultrasound pictures. Maybe people really could change. Maybe this time would be different. She just had to be brave enough to find out. 3 days after the ultrasound appointment, Julian called Tasha with news. "I found a place. Can I pick you up and show it to you? Now. If you're free. I think you'll really like it." An hour later, Julian pulled up in his sleek silver car. Tasha had changed into comfortable jeans and a red maternity top. As they drove through the city, she noticed they were heading toward a nicer neighborhood, one with tree-lined streets and well-maintained buildings. "Julian, this area looks expensive," she said carefully. "It's safe. That's what matters. Just look at it before you decide." They pulled up to a beautiful brick building with a doorman and a small garden in front. The apartment was on the 3rd floor, and when Julian opened the door, Tasha's breath caught. It was beautiful. Hardwood floors, large windows letting in natural light, a modern kitchen, and best of all, 2 bedrooms. The 2nd bedroom was perfect size for a nursery. "What do you think?" Julian asked nervously. Tasha walked through the space, touching the granite countertops, looking out the windows at the quiet street below. "It's beautiful, but Julian, I can't afford this." "You don't have to. I'll cover the rent and utilities. Consider it child support. The baby isn't even born yet. So I'm getting an early start." Julian stood in the doorway of what would be the nursery. "I want you both to be comfortable and safe. Please, Tasha. Let me do this." Tasha remembered the instructions to accept help with gratitude. More than that, she thought about what would be best for her baby. This apartment was clean, safe, in a good school district. Her son deserved this. "Okay," she said. "Thank you. This is really generous." Julian's whole face lit up. "Yeah. You'll take it?" "Yes. I'll take it." "When can you move in?" "I'll hire movers. You shouldn't be lifting anything." "I don't have that much stuff," Tasha said with a small laugh. "Most of the furniture in my current place came with the rental. Then we'll get new furniture. Whatever you want. Make a list." Over the next 2 weeks, Julian proved he meant every word. He hired movers who packed up Tasha's belongings. He took her shopping for furniture, letting her choose everything for the living room, bedroom, and nursery. When she hesitated over prices, he gently reminded her to focus on what she liked, not the cost. They spent hours in baby stores picking out a crib, a changing table, tiny clothes, and soft blues and greens. Julian wanted to buy everything, but Tasha made him put some things back. "We don't need 3 different baby swings," she said, laughing as he tried to sneak a second one into the cart. "But what if he likes this one better?" Julian protested. "We'll survive with 1 swing." Moving day arrived on a Saturday. Gloria came to help, though she mostly supervised while the movers did the heavy lifting. She watched Julian carefully as he directed where furniture should go, as he hung pictures on the wall, as he assembled the crib in the nursery. "He's trying," Gloria said quietly to Tasha while Julian was in the other room. "I'll give him that." "I know, Mama. Just don't forget what happened before. People don't change overnight." "I haven't forgotten," Tasha assured her. "But he deserves a chance to show he's different." That evening, after Gloria left and the movers were gone, Tasha and Julian stood in the completed nursery. The walls were painted a soft cream color. The dark wood crib was dressed in bedding with little elephants. A comfortable rocking chair sat in the corner. "It's perfect," Tasha said softly. "He's going to love it," Julian agreed. He turned to her. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." Can I attend all your appointments from now on? And maybe we could do some of those parenting classes together? I want to learn how to do this right." Tasha studied his face. He looked sincere, hopeful, maybe even a little desperate. "Yes, you can come to the appointments. And the classes sound good." "Really?" Julian's relief was obvious. "Thank you, Tasha. I won't let you down. I promise." They signed up for a parenting class that started the following week. Every Tuesday evening, they sat with other expectant parents and learned about diaper changes, feeding schedules, and sleep training. Julian took notes like he was studying for an important exam. He asked so many questions that Tasha had to nudge him to let other people talk. On the way home from the third class, they stopped for ice cream. Tasha got chocolate and Julian got vanilla. They sat in his car, eating and talking about the class. "I never knew babies needed so much stuff," Julian said. "Did you know there are different types of bottles?" "I did know that, yes. And apparently you shouldn't use blankets in the crib? That seems wrong, but the instructor was very clear about it." Tasha smiled at his earnestness. "You're taking this very seriously." "Of course I am. I'm going to be a father." Julian looked at her, his expression softening. "I'm sorry I wasn't there for the first 6 months. I can't get that time back, but I'm here now. And I'm not going anywhere." "We'll see," Tasha said, though her tone was gentler than before. As weeks passed, a routine developed. Julian came to every doctor's appointment. They went to parenting class together. He stopped by the apartment several times a week, usually bringing dinner or something for the baby. He painted the nursery, hung shelves, and assembled every piece of baby furniture with determined focus. One evening he showed up with ingredients to cook dinner. "I remembered you used to love my pasta," he said a bit shyly. "I still do," Tasha admitted. They worked together in the kitchen and for a moment, it felt like old times. Before the distance, before the loneliness, before everything fell apart. Julian told her about a new project at his company, and Tasha shared stories about her plans for the new school year. "I'm scared," Julian admitted as they ate. "About being a father. What if I mess it up?" "Everyone's scared," Tasha said. "I'm terrified too. But we'll figure it out together." "Together," Julian repeated, and something in his eyes made Tasha's heart skip. Later, as Julian was leaving, he paused at the door. "Tasha, I know I hurt you. I know I was a terrible husband. But I'm trying to be better. Not just for the baby, but because I want to be the man you deserved all along." "Keep trying," Tasha said softly. "That's all anyone can do." After he left, Tasha stood in the nursery, one hand on her belly. The baby kicked, strong and active. "Your daddy's trying, little one," she whispered. "I think maybe we should give him a real chance." For the first time in months, hope bloomed in her chest. Maybe, just maybe, they could find their way back to each other. Not to the broken marriage they'd had before, but to something new. Something stronger. All they needed was time, patience, and the willingness to try. At 28 weeks pregnant, Tasha woke one morning to find her ankles swollen and her back aching. She texted Julian, mostly just to complain, not expecting anything. 20 minutes later, he showed up at her door with a footstool and heating pad. "What are you doing here?" she asked, surprised. "You said you were uncomfortable. I wanted to help." He held up the items like offerings. "Can I come in?" She stepped aside, and Julian immediately set up the footstool by the couch, then helped her sit down. He positioned her feet on the stool and went to get pillows for her back. "Julian, you didn't have to come over. You probably have work." "Work can wait. You're carrying my son. That's more important than any meeting." Tasha studied him as he fussed around her apartment. The old Julian would never have skipped work for something like this. The old Julian barely noticed when she was sick with the flu for a week. This version of her ex-husband was different, attentive in ways he'd never been before. "Are you hungry?" he asked. "I could make breakfast. I haven't been to the grocery store yet this week." "Then I'll go get food." "What sounds good?" "You really don't have to do all this." Julian knelt beside the couch, his eyes serious. Yes, I do. Please let me take care of you. Both of you. Something in Tasha's chest softened. Pancakes sound good. And maybe some fruit. Julian smiled, that genuine smile that used to make her heart flutter years ago. Pancakes and fruit. I'll be back in 30 minutes. He returned with groceries and cooked while Tasha rested. Soon the apartment smelled like vanilla and butter. Julian brought her a plate piled with fluffy pancakes, fresh strawberries and whipped cream. This looks amazing, she said. I've been practicing. He sat beside her with his own plate. I realized I never cooked for you during our marriage. I want to make up for that. They ate together and Tasha found herself relaxing. They talked about baby names. Julian liked traditional names, while Tasha preferred something unique but not too unusual. What about Isaiah? Julian suggested. It means salvation, or God is salvation. Isaiah Bennett. Tasha tested the name. I actually really like that. Yeah. Julian's face brightened. Isaiah it is then. After breakfast, Julian insisted on cleaning the kitchen while Tasha rested. Then he sat on the floor and rubbed her swollen feet, something he'd never done even once during their marriage. Does this help? He asked. It helps a lot. Tasha closed her eyes, trying not to think too hard about how natural this felt. Thank you. I should be thanking you. You're growing our son. You're doing all the hard work. It's not a competition. I know. But I want you to know I see how hard this is. I appreciate everything you're doing. Over the following weeks, Julian became a constant presence in Tasha's life. He fixed things around her apartment. He came to every appointment, even the short ones that barely lasted 10 minutes. He attended the parenting classes and actually implemented what they learned, practicing diaper changes on a doll with serious concentration. One Saturday he suggested they go shopping for the rest of the nursery items. They walked through the baby store, Julian pushing the cart while Tasha consulted her list. Other shoppers probably assumed they were a happy couple preparing for their first child. The thought made Tasha's heart ache a little. What about this mobile? Julian held up one with little animals. Or this one with stars? The stars, Tasha decided. I like that it glows in the dark. They picked out sheets, towels, a hamper and countless tiny outfits that Julian insisted Isaiah would need. At one point, Tasha had to physically stop him from buying a miniature leather jacket. He's going to be an infant, not a tiny motorcycle enthusiast, she said, laughing. But it's so cute. Put it back. Julian pouted but obeyed. Watching him, Tasha felt warmth spread through her chest. This playful, engaged version of Julian was the man she'd fallen in love with years ago. The man who'd stayed up all night with her talking about their dreams. The man who'd once surprised her with a homemade dinner after a hard day. Somewhere along the way that man had disappeared. But maybe he'd been there all along, just buried under stress and work and poor priorities. What are you thinking about? Julian asked, catching her staring. Just that you seem different. Happier. I am happier. Julian's expression turned serious. These past months with you, getting ready for Isaiah, it's reminded me what really matters. I lost sight of that before. I got so caught up in building the company that I forgot why I was doing it in the first place. Why were you doing it? To build a future. For us. For the family we'd have someday. He laughed without humor. But I was so busy building that future that I destroyed our present. That was stupid. They checked out and loaded everything into Julian's car. As they drove back to Tasha's apartment, Julian cleared his throat. I've been thinking. Would you maybe want to have dinner at my place tomorrow? I'll cook. Nothing fancy, just the two of us. Tasha's heart sped up. This felt different from the casual meals they'd shared at her apartment. This felt like a date. I don't know if that's a good idea. Why not? Because we're still technically going through a divorce, Julian. We're just on pause. Then maybe we should talk about that, Julian said carefully. About what we're doing here. Because it feels like more than co-parenting to me. Tasha was quiet for a moment. It felt like more to her too. Every time Julian smiled at her, every gentle touch, every thoughtful gesture, it felt like they were rebuilding something. But she was scared. Scared of getting hurt again. Scared of falling back into old patterns. I need time, she finally said. I'm not ready to make big decisions yet. Okay, Julian agreed quickly. No pressure. But dinner? As friends? Can we do that? As friends, Tasha confirmed. Okay. I'll come to dinner. The next evening, Tasha dressed in a comfortable maroon maternity dress and drove to Julian's penthouse. She hadn't been there since before the separation and walking in felt strange. The place looked different. less sterile. There were actual decorations now, photos on the walls, a throw blanket on the couch. You redecorated, she said. A little. The place felt empty before. Julian took her coat. Come on, dinner's almost ready. He'd made chicken parmesan with a side salad, one of her favorite meals. They ate at his dining table, which was set with actual placemats and candles. This is nice, Tasha said. Really nice. I wanted it to be special. Julian refilled her water glass. Tasha, can I be honest with you about something? Of course. I don't want the divorce. I haven't wanted it for a while now. I made a terrible mistake when I filed those papers. I was overwhelmed and stupid, and I threw away the best thing in my life. Tasha set down her fork. Julian, just let me finish, please. He took a deep breath. I know I have a lot to prove. I know saying sorry isn't enough. But I love you. I never stopped loving you. And I want us to be a family. A real family. You hurt me, Tasha said quietly. You made me feel like I didn't matter. Like our marriage was just something in your way. I know. And I hate myself for that. But I'm different now. Or maybe I'm the person I should have been all along. I want to be the husband you deserve and the father Isaiah deserves. Tasha felt tears prick her eyes. What if you get busy with work again? What if you forget about us when things get stressful? I won't. I've already made changes. I hired a CEO to handle day-to-day operations. I'm still involved, but I'm not drowning in work anymore. And even if things get busy, I promise I'll never make you feel invisible again. Promises are easy to make. Then let me prove it with actions. Give me a chance, Tasha. A real chance. Not just as Isaiah's father, but as your husband. Tasha looked at him, at the sincerity in his eyes, at the way his hands trembled slightly. She thought about all the ways he'd shown up over the past weeks. The foot rubs, the grocery runs, the assembled furniture, the patience with her mood swings. He'd been trying so hard. I need to think about it, she said. This is a big decision. Take all the time you need, Julian said. I'm not going anywhere. As Tasha drove home that night, she felt conflicted. Part of her wanted to run back to Julian and say yes. Part of her wanted to protect her heart. But the biggest part of her wondered if maybe, just maybe, they deserved another chance at happiness. The next week, Tasha invited her mother over for lunch. Gloria arrived carrying a casserole dish and wearing her Sunday best, even though it was a Thursday. You look nice, Mama, Tasha said, hugging her. I always dress well. Gloria set the casserole in the kitchen and turned to examine her daughter. You look different. Glowing more than usual. It's just the pregnancy. Gloria's knowing look said she didn't believe that for a second. Where's all this new furniture from? And that nursery wasn't this complete last time I visited. Julian's been helping. I see. Gloria sat at the kitchen table. And how much has Julian been helping? Tasha poured them both iced tea before sitting down. He's been around a lot. Coming to all the appointments, taking parenting classes with me, buying stuff for the baby. And how do you feel about that? I don't know, Mama. Sometimes I think we might actually have a chance at working things out. Other times I remember how much he hurt me. Gloria reached across the table and took her daughter's hand. Baby, I've watched that man these past weeks. I've seen how he looks at you, how he lights up when he talks about Isaiah. That's not fake. But what? But you need to make sure he's changing for the right reasons. Is he doing this because he genuinely wants to be better? Or is he doing it because he feels guilty about the baby? I've thought about that, Tasha admitted. I think it started with guilt, but now I think it's real. He told me he loves me. That he wants us to be a real family. What did you tell him? That I need time to think. Gloria nodded approvingly. Good. You should take your time. There's no rush. You focus on you and that baby. If Julian is serious, he'll wait. Later that week, Julian invited Tasha to dinner at his sister's house. Rachel Bennett was 2 years younger than Julian, a lawyer with a quick wit and warm personality. She'd always liked Tasha and had been upset when she heard about the divorce. Are you sure this is a good idea? Tasha asked Julian over the phone. Rachel wants to see you. And she's excited about becoming an aunt. She's not going to interrogate me, is she? Probably a little. But I'll protect you. Rachel lived in a beautiful townhouse with her husband, Peter Chin, a quiet architect. When Tasha and Julian arrived, Rachel opened the door and immediately pulled Tasha into a hug. Look at you. You're beautiful. Pregnancy suits you. Rachel held Tasha at arm's length. And you're letting my idiot brother back into your life. Are you sure about that? Rachel, Julian warned. What? I'm just asking. Rachel ushered them inside. Peter's finishing dinner. Come sit down. The four of them settled in the living room. Rachel brought out sparkling cider and snacks, then focused her attention on Tasha. So, Julian tells me you're having a boy. Isaiah, right? That's right. That's a strong name. I like it. Rachel glanced at her brother. And you've been helping Tasha get ready? As much as she'll let me, Julian said. Good. Because you have a lot to make up for. Rachel's tone was light but her eyes were serious. You really messed up, big brother. Walking away from your marriage like that. I know I did. Do you? Rachel turned to Tasha. Has he apologized properly? Like really apologized? He has, Tasha said. Many times. And are you considering taking him back? Rachel, that's personal, Peter called from the kitchen. I'm just trying to look out for Tasha. Someone has to. Rachel softened her tone. Look, I love my brother but I saw what he put you through. All those late nights, the missed dinners, the way he was never around. If you're going to give him another chance, I just want to make sure he deserves it. He's been different, Tasha said quietly. Really different. He comes to every appointment, he's always available when I need him, and he's actually present when we're together. Not on his phone, not distracted by work. Because he hired a CEO, Julian added. I'm still involved in the company, but I'm not running myself into the ground anymore. Rachel studied them both carefully. Okay. I believe you're trying, Julian. But actions speak louder than words. Don't let her down again. I won't. Dinner was delicious. Peter had made Thai curry and they all sat around the table talking and laughing. Tasha felt herself relaxing, enjoying the warmth of family. This was what she'd missed during her marriage, this sense of connection and belonging. After dinner, Rachel pulled Tasha aside while the men cleaned up. I meant what I said earlier. Julian hurt you and that's not okay. But I also see how he is now and I think he's genuinely changed. He talks about you and Isaiah all the time. He's actually happy again. He was unhappy before? Miserable. After he filed for divorce, he threw himself into work even harder, but you could tell his heart wasn't in it. He made this huge mistake and didn't know how to fix it. Finding out about the baby gave him a reason to try. Your mother said something similar. That he might just be motivated by guilt. Maybe at first, Rachel admitted. But I've seen him with you today. The way he looks at you, the way he's so careful with you. That's not guilt. That's love. Those words echoed in Tasha's head as she and Julian drove home. When he walked her to her apartment door, she stopped him before he could leave. Thank you for tonight. Your sister is wonderful. She likes you better than me, Julian said with a smile. Always has. Julian, can I ask you something? Be honest. Anything. If I wasn't pregnant, would you still want me back? Or is this just about Isaiah? Julian's expression turned serious. He cupped her face gently. Tasha, I wanted you back before I knew about Isaiah. The divorce was the biggest mistake of my life, and I knew it the moment I signed those papers. The baby just gave me the courage to actually tell you how I felt. But even if there was no Isaiah, I would still love you. I would still want to spend the rest of my life with you. Tears spilled down Tasha's cheeks. I'm scared. I know. I'm scared too. Scared I'll mess up again. Scared you'll realize you're better off without me. But I'm willing to risk it if you are. Tasha thought about everything that had happened. The pain of their separation, the loneliness, the hurt. But she also thought about the past weeks. The laughter, the shared meals, the way Julian had been there for every moment. The way he looked at her like she was the most important person in his world. Maybe love wasn't about never getting hurt. Maybe it was about choosing to trust again even when you were scared. Maybe it was about giving people room to grow and change. Okay, she whispered. Okay, what? Okay, let's try. For real this time. Not just for Isaiah but for us. Julian's face transformed with joy. He pulled her into a gentle hug, mindful of her belly. Thank you. Thank you for giving me another chance. I promise I won't waste it. As Tasha fell asleep that night, one hand on her belly, she felt peace settle over her. She'd made her choice. Now they just had to see if they could build something beautiful from the broken pieces of their past. The next morning, Tasha woke to find a text from Julian. Good morning. How are my two favorite people today? She smiled and replied, hungry. And your son is doing gymnastics. Minutes later he called. I'll bring breakfast. Eggs and toast. Perfect. This became their new routine. Julian would bring breakfast several times a week, or they'd meet for lunch, or he'd come over after work to cook dinner. They were dating again but it felt different from before. More intentional. More present. The parenting class continued every Tuesday evening. They learned about safe sleep practices, how to soothe a crying baby, and what to do in emergencies. Julian took copious notes, often asking to stay after class to ask the instructor additional questions. "You're the teacher's pet," Tasha teased him as they walked to the car after one session. "I just want to be prepared. What if Isaiah chokes? What if he has a fever? What if?" "We'll figure it out together," Tasha assured him. "No one knows everything about being a parent. We'll learn as we go." "But what if I'm terrible at it?" Tasha stopped walking and turned to face him. "Julian, you're going to be a wonderful father. You care so much already and he's not even born yet. That's the most important thing." "You really think so?" "I know so." Julian pulled her close, or as close as her belly would allow. "What did I do to deserve you?" "You're still working on deserving me," Tasha said with a smile. "But you're getting there." One Saturday they decided to take a walk in the park. It was a beautiful spring day, sunny and warm. Tasha wore a comfortable green sundress, and Julian held her hand as they strolled along the path. Other couples passed them, some with dogs, some with strollers. Soon that would be them. "I've been thinking," Julian said as they sat on a bench by the pond. "After Isaiah is born, I'd like us to move in together. All three of us." "Julian, just hear me out. We're building a family. It makes sense for us to live together. And I want to be there for the middle of the night feedings, the diaper changes, all of it. I don't want to miss anything." Tasha had thought about this too. The idea of bringing Isaiah home to her apartment and doing it all alone was daunting. Having Julian there would make everything easier. But it also felt like a big step. "Where would we live? Your penthouse or my apartment? Wherever you're comfortable. We could find a new place together if you want. Something that feels like ours, not mine or yours." "I'll think about it," Tasha said. "Let me get used to us being together again first." "Fair enough." They continued their walk and Julian told her about his work. He'd been mentoring some younger employees, helping them develop their skills and advance in the company. He seemed genuinely happy about it, more fulfilled than when he'd been grinding away at the CEO role. "You seem lighter," Tasha observed. "Less stressed." "I am. Delegating was the best decision I ever made. Well, second best. The first best was convincing you to give me another chance. You're cheesy. You love it." And she did. This version of Julian, the one who made time for her, who showed his emotions, who wasn't afraid to be vulnerable, was the man she'd always known he could be. That evening Julian cooked dinner at Tasha's apartment. They'd fallen into this easy rhythm of domesticity. He'd learned which spatula she preferred, where she kept the good knives, how she liked her vegetables cut. It felt natural, like they'd been doing this together forever instead of rebuilding something broken. After dinner they settled on the couch to watch a movie. Tasha's feet were in Julian's lap, and he rubbed them absently as they watched. Isaiah was active tonight, kicking and rolling. Julian's hand moved to her belly, feeling the movements. "That's so amazing," he said softly. "He's so strong. He takes after his father." Julian looked at her, his eyes soft. "I love you, Tasha. I know I've said it before, but I need you to know I mean it. You're everything to me." "I love you too," Tasha said and realized she meant it fully. She'd forgiven him. Not because what he did was okay, but because people deserved grace when they were truly trying to change. "I'm glad we found our way back to each other." Julian leaned forward and kissed her forehead. "Me too." The weeks continued to pass in this gentle, happy way. They attended another ultrasound where Isaiah's face was more visible, and Julian cried again at seeing his son. They assembled the last pieces of nursery furniture together. They took another childbirth preparation class. One day Julian's business partner, Thomas Green, stopped by while Julian was at Tasha's apartment. Thomas was a tall man in his 40s with graying hair and a perpetually serious expression. "So this is where you've been hiding," Thomas said when Tasha opened the door. "Thomas, this is Tasha, my wife," Julian said, coming to stand beside her. "Tasha, this is Thomas." "Nice to finally meet you," Thomas said, shaking her hand. His eyes went to her belly. "And congratulations." "Thank you." Thomas and Julian talked business for a few minutes before Thomas got to his real purpose. "The San Francisco deal needs your attention. They specifically asked for you." "I'll handle it remotely," Julian said. "I'm not traveling right now." "Julian, this is a multi-million-dollar contract. You need to be there in person." "Then they'll have to wait until after the baby is born." Thomas looked frustrated. "You've changed, Bennett. You used to live for deals like this." "I still care about the business. But my family comes first now." After Thomas left, Tasha touched Julian's arm. You don't have to turn down important work because of me. It's not just because of you. It's because I finally have my priorities straight. Julian kissed her hand. Thomas will get over it. The company will survive. But I only get one chance to be here for Isaiah's birth, and I'm not missing it. Tasha felt warmth spread through her chest. This was what she'd needed all along. Not for Julian to quit working, but for him to understand that some things were more important than business. That she and their family deserved his time and attention too. I'm proud of you, she said. For turning down a business trip? For choosing us. Julian pulled her into a hug. I'll always choose us. Always. As they stood there holding each other in the late afternoon light, Tasha felt complete in a way she hadn't in years. They still had challenges ahead. But they were facing them together, and that made all the difference. At 34 weeks pregnant, Tasha was at her apartment folding tiny baby clothes when her phone rang. It was Nicole, her best friend. Hey girl, we need to talk, Nicole said without preamble. About what? About you and Julian. I heard you're back together? We're working on things, yes. Tasha, are you sure about this? I just don't want to see you get hurt again. Tasha sighed and sat down on the couch. I know you're worried. But Julian has really changed. People don't just change overnight. It's been months, Nicole. And you haven't seen how he is now. He's attentive and caring, and he's been here for everything. That's great, but what happens when the baby is born and the novelty wears off? What if he goes back to being a workaholic? The questions echoed Tasha's own fears, the ones she tried to ignore. I don't think he will. But if he does, we'll deal with it. I just love you and I want you to be careful. I am being careful. But I also have to give him a chance. He's trying so hard, Nicole. Really trying. They talked for a while longer before hanging up. Tasha sat with the phone in her hand, thinking about everything Nicole had said. Her friend meant well, but the doubts planted seeds of worry. When Julian came over that evening with dinner, Tasha was quieter than usual. He noticed immediately. What's wrong? He asked, setting down the bags of takeout. Nicole called today. She's worried about us getting back together. Julian's expression tightened. What did she say? Just that she doesn't want me to get hurt again. She's concerned you might go back to how you were before. And what do you think? Tasha looked at him carefully. I think you're different now. But I also think it's easy to be present during pregnancy when everything is new and exciting. What happens in a year? Or 5 years? When things are routine and boring? Julian sat beside her and took her hands. Tasha, I can't promise I'll never make mistakes. I'm human and sometimes I'll mess up. But I can promise that I will never put work before you and Isaiah again. I've learned that lesson the hard way. I almost lost you because of it, and I'm not letting that happen twice. How can you be sure? Because I know what it feels like to lose you. I know what it's like to come home to an empty house and realize I threw away the best thing in my life. That fear, that regret, it stays with me. It reminds me every day why I need to do better. Tasha wanted to believe him. She did believe him, mostly. But the small voice of doubt remained. The next day she had coffee with her mother. Gloria listened as Tasha explained her fears, then shared her own perspective. Baby, every relationship requires trust. You can't move forward if you're always waiting for the other person to fail. Either you trust Julian or you don't. I want to trust him. Then do. Make the choice to trust him. And if he breaks that trust, you'll deal with it then. But don't punish him now for things he might do in the future. Tasha knew her mother was right. She'd been holding back, keeping part of her heart protected just in case. But that wasn't fair to Julian, and it wasn't fair to herself. That evening when Julian came over, Tasha was ready to talk. They sat in the nursery, surrounded by tiny clothes and stuffed animals. I've been scared, she admitted. Scared of getting hurt again. So I've been holding back, not fully committing to us. I know, Julian said gently. I can feel it sometimes. The way you pull away when things get too comfortable. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. I understand why you're scared. I caused that fear. Julian took her hand. But I'm here, Tasha. Fully here. And I'm not going anywhere. I want to trust that completely. I want to believe in us without all these doubts. Then let go of the fear. I know that's easier said than done, but I'm asking you to take a leap of faith. Trust me. Trust us. Tasha looked into his eyes and saw only sincerity. She thought about all the ways he'd shown up over the past months. The early morning breakfasts, the assembled furniture, the midnight ice cream runs when she had cravings. He'd proven himself over and over. Okay, she said. I trust you. And I'm all in. No more holding back. Julian's smile was radiant. He leaned forward and kissed her, soft and sweet. Thank you for giving me this chance, for believing in me. Don't make me regret it, Tasha said with a small smile. Never. Over the next week, things shifted between them. Tasha stopped second-guessing every interaction. She let herself be fully happy, fully present in their relationship. Julian noticed the change immediately. You seem lighter, he observed one evening as they walked through the baby store, picking up last-minute items. I am. I decided to stop worrying about what might go wrong and just enjoy what's going right. I like this version of you. Don't get too comfortable. Pregnancy hormones could kick in any minute. Julian laughed and pulled her close. I'll take you any way I can get you. They were standing in the aisle, surrounded by baby bottles and pacifiers, when Tasha felt a strong contraction. She gasped and grabbed Julian's arm. Tasha? What's wrong? Braxton Hicks, I think. It's fine. She breathed through it until it passed. See? All good. But Julian looked worried. Should we call the doctor? It's normal. False labor. I've had them before. You didn't tell me that. Because they're normal and I didn't want you to panic. Too late. I'm officially panicked. But Julian was smiling as he said it. Come on, let's get you home. You need to rest. He drove her back to her apartment and made sure she was comfortable on the couch before making her a cup of herbal tea. He sat beside her, one hand resting protectively on her belly. Only 6 more weeks, he said softly. And we'll get to meet him. Are you ready? Absolutely not. But I'm excited anyway. Tasha laughed and leaned against him. We're going to be okay, aren't we? Better than okay. We're going to be great. And sitting there, feeling their baby move between them, Tasha believed it. They'd been through pain and separation, but they'd found their way back. They were stronger now, more aware of what mattered. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. That was more than enough. At 36 weeks pregnant, Tasha could barely see her feet anymore. She waddled more than walked, and getting comfortable at night required at least 6 pillows arranged in strategic positions. Julian found all of this adorable, which annoyed Tasha even as it made her smile. You're glowing, he said one morning as they ate breakfast together. I'm sweating. That's not the same thing. Beautiful sweat. You're ridiculous. But she was smiling. Julian had started staying over more often, sleeping on the couch so he could be nearby in case Tasha needed anything. Most mornings she'd wake to find him already up, making breakfast and getting ready for the day. It felt domestic and right in ways that made her heart happy. One evening as they sat on the couch watching television, Julian cleared his throat nervously. Tasha, I want to ask you something. And you can say no if you're not ready. That's a concerning way to start a conversation. I want you and Isaiah to move in with me, or we can find a new place together. But I want us to live as a family. I don't want to miss bedtimes or morning routines because I'm driving across town. Tasha had been thinking about this too. The logistics of co-parenting from separate homes seemed complicated. And if she was honest, she wanted to live with Julian. She wanted to wake up next to him every morning and fall asleep beside him every night. Where would we live? Wherever you want. My penthouse, your apartment, a new house. I don't care about the location. I just want to be with you both. Your penthouse is bigger, Tasha said practically. And it has that extra room we could use for a playroom when Isaiah gets older. Julian's face lit up. So you're saying yes? I'm saying yes. But slowly. Let me keep this apartment for a few more months just in case. I want to make sure we're really ready for this. Fair enough. We'll do it your way. They spent the next week moving some of Tasha's things to Julian's penthouse. He cleared out closet space, rearranged his kitchen to accommodate her cooking supplies, and made sure the second bedroom was fully set up as a nursery. Rachel came to help, along with Gloria, and they all worked together to create a space that felt like home. This is nice, Gloria said, looking around the penthouse. You've done a good job making it welcoming, Julian. I just want Tasha to be comfortable. She will be. As long as you keep treating her right. Yes, ma'am. That's the plan. Tasha watched the exchange with amusement. Her mother had warmed considerably to Julian over the past months, but she still maintained her protective edge. It was sweet, really. On moving day, Julian insisted on carrying everything. You're not lifting anything. Doctor's orders. The doctor said light activity is fine. Box carrying is not light activity. Tasha rolled her eyes but let him do most of the work. By evening, her belongings were integrated into his space. Their space. It felt surreal but good. That night, they lay in bed together for the first time in months. Julian held her carefully, mindful of her belly. Isaiah kicked between them and Julian laughed. He's telling me to back off. That's his mom. He'll have to share, Tasha said, snuggling closer. I miss this. Just being close to you. Me too. The next morning, Tasha woke to find the bed empty. She heard sounds from the kitchen and smelled bacon cooking. She got up and found Julian making breakfast, already dressed for the day in casual clothes. Good morning, he said, smiling. How did you sleep? Really well, actually. Your bed is more comfortable than mine. Our bed now. Our bed, Tasha agreed. After breakfast, Julian suggested they take a walk. It was a beautiful Saturday morning, perfect weather for being outside. They strolled through the nearby park, hand in hand, talking about their plans for after Isaiah's birth. I took a 3-month paternity leave, Julian announced. What? That's a long time. I want to be there. For the sleepless nights, the first smiles, all of it. Thomas nearly had a heart attack when I told him, but I don't care. This is more important. Tasha stopped walking and turned to face him. Are you sure? That's a big commitment. I'm absolutely sure. I missed the first 6 months of pregnancy. I'm not missing Isaiah's first months of life. Tears filled Tasha's eyes. Pregnancy hormones, she said, waving her hand. Don't mind me. Julian pulled her close. I love you so much. Both of you. We love you too. Later that week, they had their final prenatal appointment before Tasha's due date. Dr. Kim examined her and smiled. Everything looks great. Baby's in position, heartbeat is strong. You're all set. Now we just wait for Isaiah to decide he's ready. How will I know when I'm in labor? Tasha asked. What if I can't tell the difference between Braxton Hicks and real contractions? Trust me, you'll know. Real labor contractions are consistent and get progressively stronger. If you're unsure, you can always call the office or come in to be checked. Julian asked about a dozen questions, taking notes like always. Dr. Kim answered each one patiently, clearly amused by his thoroughness. You're going to be a great dad, she told him. Any baby would be lucky to have a father this involved. On the way home, Julian held Tasha's hand tightly. This is really happening. In a few weeks, we're going to be parents. Are you scared? Terrified. But also excited. We're going to be good at this, right? We'll figure it out together, Tasha assured him. That evening, Julian surprised her with a date night at home. He'd ordered food from her favorite restaurant and set up the dining table with candles and flowers. Soft music played in the background. What's all this for? Tasha asked. Because I wanted to do something special for you. And because I have something to say. Julian pulled out a small box from his pocket and Tasha's breath caught. He opened it to reveal a beautiful ring, simple but elegant. Tasha Washington, you are the love of my life. You've given me grace when I didn't deserve it and a second chance when I'd already blown the first one. I want to spend the rest of my life making you happy and being the husband you deserve. Will you marry me? Again? Tasha's hands trembled as she looked at the ring, then at Julian's hopeful face. We're already married. Technically. But those papers are still sitting at the lawyer's office, waiting to be finalized one way or the other. I want to withdraw them officially. I want to start fresh. Will you let me? Yes, Tasha whispered. Yes, I'll marry you again. Julian slipped the ring onto her finger and they both started laughing through their tears. He pulled her up from her chair and kissed her thoroughly, one hand cupping her face, the other resting on her belly. Thank you, he murmured against her lips. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for being worth choosing. They spent the rest of the evening planning a simple renewal ceremony for after Isaiah was born. Nothing fancy, just close family and friends. A chance to make new vows and new promises, built on the lessons they'd learned from their mistakes. As Tasha got ready for bed that night, she looked at the ring on her finger and felt complete joy. They'd been through so much, but it had led them here. To this moment. To this second chance at forever. And she wouldn't change a thing. At 38 weeks and 2 days pregnant, Tasha woke at 3 in the morning with a strange sensation. Not pain exactly, just pressure and tightness. She lay still, waiting to see if it would pass. Another wave came 10 minutes later. Then another 10 minutes after that. Julian, she whispered, shaking his shoulder gently. He was awake instantly. What's wrong? Is it the baby? I think I'm in labor. Real labor. Julian shot out of bed like he'd been electrified. Okay. What do we do? Should we go to the hospital? Did your water break? Should I call the doctor? Breathe, Tasha said calmly, even though her heart was racing. We have time. The contractions are 10 minutes apart. Let me shower first. Shower? Tasha, you're in labor. Early labor. I'll be more comfortable if I'm clean. Julian paced while Tasha took a quick shower. By the time she got out, he'd already called Dr. Kim's emergency line and gotten instructions to come in when contractions were 5 minutes apart or her water broke. He'd also packed the hospital bag that they'd prepared weeks ago, loaded it in the car, and was now timing her contractions with an app on his phone. That one was 9 minutes and 45 seconds from the last one, he announced. You're adorable when you're panicking. I'm not panicking. I'm being prepared. Another contraction hit, stronger this time. Tasha breathed through it, holding onto the bathroom counter. Julian was beside her immediately, rubbing her back and murmuring encouragement. You're doing great. Just breathe. In and out. The contractions continued through the morning, gradually getting closer together and more intense. At 7 in the morning, they were 5 minutes apart, and Julian insisted it was time to go to the hospital. Let me just call my mom, Tasha said. I already called her. She's meeting us there. What about Rachel? Called her too. And Nicole. Everyone knows. You've been busy. I want our family there. They drove to the hospital with Julian breaking about 6 traffic laws in his urgency. Tasha tried not to laugh between contractions, but his anxiety was somehow calming her own nerves. At the hospital they were taken to a labor and delivery room. A nurse named Karen checked Tasha and confirmed she was 4 centimeters dilated. You're doing great, honey. Still got a ways to go, but you're making progress. Gloria arrived first, followed shortly by Rachel. Nicole came an hour later. They all took turns sitting with Tasha, offering encouragement and support. Julian never left her side, holding her hand through every contraction, wiping her forehead with a cool cloth, whispering words of love and support. You're amazing, he kept saying. So strong. I'm in awe of you. By early afternoon, Tasha was 8 centimeters dilated. The pain was intense now and she'd opted for an epidural. Julian looked more stressed than she felt. How are you so calm? He asked. The drugs are helping, Tasha admitted with a tired smile. Dr. Kim came in to check on her progress. You're almost there. Probably another couple of hours. Those 2 hours felt like an eternity. Julian stayed right beside her, never complaining, never asking for a break. At 5 in the evening, Tasha was finally ready to push. Okay, Tasha, Dr. Kim said. On the next contraction, I need you to push as hard as you can. Tasha gripped Julian's hand and pushed. And pushed. And pushed. Then everything changed. Alarms started beeping. Dr. Kim's expression shifted from calm to concerned. Baby's heart rate is dropping. We need to get him out now. More medical staff rushed in. Someone said something about the umbilical cord. Tasha felt panic rising in her chest. What's happening? Julian demanded. Is he okay? We're monitoring him, Dr. Kim said, focused on her work. Tasha, I need you to push again. Hard as you can. Tasha pushed with everything she had. She felt Julian's hand tight in hers, heard him praying under his breath. The room was chaos, nurses moving quickly, machines beeping urgently. One more push, Dr. Kim commanded. Give me everything you've got. Tasha bore down, pushed with every ounce of strength left in her body. She felt a sudden release and then silence. Terrible, awful silence. No baby cry. Just the sound of the medical team working frantically. Julian? Tasha's voice cracked. He's going to be okay, Julian said, but his voice shook. He has to be okay. Dr. Kim was working over the baby, doing things Tasha couldn't see from her position. Seconds felt like hours. The silence stretched unbearably. Then finally a cry. Weak at first, then stronger. The most beautiful sound Tasha had ever heard. There he is, Dr. Kim said, relief clear in her voice. There's our fighter. They brought Isaiah to Tasha and she cradled him against her chest. He was perfect. 10 tiny fingers, 10 tiny toes, a head full of dark hair. His eyes squinted open and he looked right at her. Hi, baby, Tasha whispered, tears streaming down her face. Hi, Isaiah. Julian was crying too, openly and unashamedly. He touched Isaiah's tiny hand and the baby gripped his finger. He's so small. He's so perfect. He had some trouble with the cord, Dr. Kim explained, but he's strong and healthy. His color is good, breathing is good. He's going to be just fine. The relief was overwhelming. Tasha held Isaiah close, feeling his warmth, his weight, the reality of him. He was here. He was healthy. Their son. Julian leaned down and kissed Tasha's forehead, then Isaiah's. You did it. You brought our son into the world. We did it, Tasha corrected. Together. 3 months after Isaiah's birth, life had settled into a beautiful routine. The early weeks had been exhausting, filled with sleepless nights and endless diaper changes. But Julian had been there for all of it, taking turns with feedings, soothing Isaiah when he cried, learning how to be a father. Tasha stood in the nursery, rocking Isaiah as he dozed in her arms. He was getting so big already, his features more defined. He had Julian's nose and her eyes, and his smile could light up a room. Julian came up behind her, wrapping his arms around both of them. "He's out. Finally. That last feeding did the trick. You're a baby whisperer." They put Isaiah in his crib and tiptoed out, leaving the door cracked. In the living room, Rachel and Peter were setting up for the small renewal ceremony they'd planned. Gloria was arranging flowers. Nicole was hanging decorations. "This is perfect," Tasha said, looking around. "Thank you all so much." "Anything for you too," Rachel said. "Though I still think Julian doesn't deserve you." "Hey," Julian protested good-naturedly. An hour later, with Isaiah sleeping peacefully and their closest family and friends gathered around, Tasha and Julian stood facing each other. They'd written their own vows this time, words that reflected their journey and their love. Julian went first, his voice steady but emotional. "Tasha, when I married you the first time, I thought I understood what love meant. But I didn't. I didn't know that love meant showing up every day even when you're tired. I didn't know it meant putting someone else's needs above your own ambitions. I didn't know it meant choosing to stay and fight when things got hard. You taught me all of that. You gave me a second chance when I didn't deserve it, and you've shown me what real partnership looks like. Today, I vow to be the husband you deserve. To put our family first always. To communicate when I'm struggling instead of pulling away. To celebrate your victories and support you through challenges. To be present for every moment, big and small. I love you and I'm grateful every day that you chose me." Tasha's vision blurred with tears. She took a shaky breath before speaking her own vows. "Julian, our story isn't a fairy tale. We've had real problems and real pain. But that makes this moment even more meaningful. You've shown me that people can change when they're willing to do the hard work. You've proven your love not through grand gestures, but through consistent, daily actions. Through midnight feedings and grocery runs and assembled furniture. Through showing up over and over again. Today, I vow to meet you with the same commitment. To trust you completely. To build our future together with honesty and grace. To raise our son with love and kindness. To never forget what it took for us to get here so we never take each other for granted again. I love you and I choose you every single day." They exchanged the rings they'd worn during their first marriage, now cleaned and blessed anew. When they kissed, everyone clapped and cheered. Gloria wiped tears from her eyes. Rachel whistled loudly. As if on cue, Isaiah started crying from the nursery. Everyone laughed and Julian went to get him. He returned carrying their son and Tasha joined them, creating a small family unit in the middle of the celebration. "To Tasha, Julian, and Isaiah," Thomas Green said, raising his glass. He'd come around after seeing how much Julian had changed. "May your family be filled with love and laughter." "Hear, hear," everyone echoed. The celebration was simple but joyful. They ate, laughed, and told stories. Nicole pulled out photos from Tasha and Julian's first wedding, and they all marveled at how young they'd looked. "You were babies yourselves?" Gloria said fondly. "We were," Julian agreed. "We had a lot of growing up to do." As evening fell and guests started leaving, Tasha found herself alone with her mother for a moment. Gloria took her daughter's hands. "I'm proud of you, baby. You handled this situation with such grace and strength. I just followed your advice, Mama. Let love lead. And look where it brought you." Gloria glanced at Julian, who was showing Isaiah to Peter and Rachel. "He's a good man now. A good father. You made the right choice giving him another chance." After everyone left, Julian, Tasha, and Isaiah settled in for the night. Isaiah was fed and changed, sleeping peacefully in his bassinet beside their bed. Julian and Tasha lay together, exhausted but happy. "We did it," Julian said softly. "We actually made it work." "We did. It wasn't easy." "No. But it was worth it." Julian propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at her. "Every day with you and Isaiah is a gift. I know I almost threw it all away, but I promise you, Tasha, I will never take this for granted. I know you won't. You've proven that. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making you happy. You already do." They lay in comfortable silence for a while, listening to Isaiah's soft breathing. This was everything Tasha had dreamed of during those lonely months when their marriage was falling apart. Family. Love. Partnership. Second chances. "What are you thinking about?" Julian asked. Just how far we've come. How different things could have been. But they're not. We're here together. That's what matters. Julian's phone buzzed on the nightstand. He ignored it. Tasha smiled. The old Julian would have checked it immediately, even at 11 at night. Aren't you going to see who that is? Nope. Family time. Unless it's an actual emergency, it can wait until morning. I love you, Tasha said. I love you too. Both of you. Julian reached over and gently touched Isaiah's sleeping form. My whole world is right here in this room. 6 months later, Tasha returned to teaching part-time. She'd been nervous about leaving Isaiah, but Julian had restructured his schedule to work from home 3 days a week so he could be with their son. They'd hired a wonderful nanny for the other 2 days. Their life had found a rhythm. Mornings were chaotic but happy, filled with baby giggles and coffee spills. Evenings were family dinners and bath time routines. Weekends were trips to the park and visits with family. Julian never worked late anymore. He came home for dinner every night, played with Isaiah before bedtime, and helped with the nighttime routine. He was present in ways Tasha had once only dreamed about. One evening, after putting Isaiah to bed, they sat on the couch together. Isaiah was almost a year old now, walking and babbling and getting into everything. Remember when we were signing divorce papers? Julian said suddenly. How could I forget? I think about that day a lot. How close I came to losing you both. Julian pulled her closer. That was the worst and best day of my life. Worst because I saw how much I'd hurt you. Best because it gave me a chance to fix everything. Everything happens for a reason, Tasha said. Maybe we needed to fall apart to learn how to come back together properly. Maybe. But I wish I'd done it right the first time. We're doing it right now. That's what matters. Julian kissed her temple. Thank you for not giving up on us. On me. Thank you for becoming the man I always knew you could be. As they sat there in the quiet evening, with their son sleeping peacefully down the hall and their whole future stretched out before them, Tasha felt profound gratitude. Their story hadn't been easy, but it was real. And it was theirs. They'd learned that love wasn't just a feeling. It was a choice you made every day. A commitment to show up, to try, to forgive, to grow together. They'd learned that second chances were precious gifts, not to be wasted. Most importantly, they'd learned that kindness, hope, and love really could lead the way. Even through pain and separation, even through fear and doubt, these things could guide you home. To each other. To family. To forever. If this story touched your heart and made you believe in second chances, please subscribe to see more stories about love, hope, and redemption. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever given someone a second chance? How did it work out? Your story might inspire someone else who's facing a similar choice.